The billionaire thought he controlled everything in his life. Every decision, every move, every moment was meticulously planned to ensure success. But fate had a way of unraveling even the most well-structured plans. On Valentine's Day, Logan Hastings, a man known for his ruthless business acumen and ironclad control, found himself dining alone at an upscale restaurant. The soft hum of conversation, the occasional burst of laughter, and the clinking of glasses surrounded him, yet he felt isolated. Swirling the amber liquid in his glass, he let the ice cubes slowly melt into the depths of his whiskey. He was not a man prone to nostalgia, nor did he indulge in sentimentality. Emotions, he believed, were distractions, unpredictable elements that could derail the most carefully curated existence. His empire was built on precision and unwavering control. Every deal, every acquisition, every decision was planned to perfection. But fate, as it turned out, was never part of his calculations. Then, as he lifted his glass to his lips, his gaze landed on a vision from the past, Sophie Carter. Her laughter, warm and genuine, curled through the air like an intoxicating melody. Her presence alone was enough to send a shockwave through his carefully composed exterior. But what truly left him breathless were the three small figures seated beside her, two identical boys and a little girl. A chilling realization crashed over him like a tidal wave. These children, they bore a striking resemblance to him. The boys had his sharp jawline, the same piercing blue eyes that had stared back at him from old family portraits. The little girl had Sophie's fiery determination etched into her delicate features. A single thought cemented itself in his mind: these were his children. His grip tightened around the glass, his pulse pounding like a war drum against his ribs. 3 years. 3 years since Sophie had walked out of his life. 3 years of silence. 3 years of not knowing. And now, 3 children he had unknowingly abandoned. The restaurant, once a haven of predictability, now felt suffocating. Logan set his glass down with a quiet thud, his mind spinning with questions. Rising to his feet, he cut across the restaurant, ignoring the murmured conversations and curious glances from other diners. His focus was singular, unrelenting. Sophie looked up just as he reached the table. Her smile faded into something unreadable. But it was her eyes, wide, startled, filled with unspoken truths, that told him everything he needed to know. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The children, oblivious to the storm brewing between the adults, chattered amongst themselves, their small hands playing with the silverware. Logan swallowed hard, his voice barely above a whisper. "Are they mine?" The words hung between them like a live wire, charged with years of absence, regret, and things left unsaid. Sophie's lips parted, and for a fleeting second, Logan saw something raw flicker in her expression: guilt, fear. And then, with a quiet breath, she nodded. "Yes, Logan. They're yours." The world tilted. The ground vanished beneath his feet. 3 years. 3 children. 3 lives he had unknowingly abandoned. His heart pounded, his mind racing to catch up with the brutal truth before him. His entire life had been built on power and dominance, on ensuring that nothing ever happened beyond his control. But this shattered everything. For the first time in his life, Logan Hastings had no idea what to do next. The silence stretched between them, a gaping void filled with words neither of them knew how to say. Logan stood rigid, every muscle in his body coiled tight. His mind was a battlefield of anger, confusion, and an aching sense of loss. Sophie met his gaze, her own eyes wary but steady. She had always been like that, unshaken, even when faced with the storm that was Logan Hastings. His hands curled into fists at his sides as he forced himself to breathe. 3 years, Sophie. His voice was low, dangerous. 3 years, and you never told me. She exhaled slowly, the weight of her decision evident in the slump of her shoulders. I tried, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I called. I left messages. But you never answered, Logan. A sharp pang shot through him. He had ignored those calls. He had assumed she was reaching out in desperation, hoping to salvage something that had already been shattered. But now, as he stared at the faces of his children, he realized the magnitude of his mistake. He glanced at the boys first. The one on the left was staring at him, his expression guarded, suspicious. The other was more relaxed, his head tilted in curiosity. The little girl, however, clung to Sophie's sleeve, her dark eyes flitting between her mother and the stranger who had disrupted their dinner. Logan swallowed hard and turned back to Sophie. Why didn't you try harder? Her eyes flashed. You think I didn't? You were untouchable, Logan. Your assistant blocked me, your numbers changed. And even if I had gotten through, do you really think you would have listened? He hated that she was right. Hated that he had been so consumed by his ambition that he had shut out everything else. But this wasn't something he could walk away from. I want to meet them, he said firmly. Sophie's jaw tensed. This isn't just about what you want. They don't know you, Logan. You can't just. They're mine. His voice was raw, edged with something close to desperation. I lost 3 years. I won't lose any more. Sophie studied him, something unreadable flickering in her gaze. Then she sighed, running a hand through her hair. Fine, she said at last. Tomorrow. At the park near my house. Noon. And with that, she turned back to the children, her expression softening as she ushered them toward the door. Logan watched them go, his heart pounding with an unfamiliar mix of dread and longing. Tomorrow. He had until tomorrow to figure out how to be a father.